You want to hear an awkward situation? Well, check this out. You're working with this prospect and you feel that things are going pretty well. Been talking to them for several months. I mean, what the worst is going to happen now? They're going to close. But then one day they let you know that they're going with your competitor. You're devastated. You're frustrated. You're like, dang, what could I have done better? You're clueless. But then you listen to an episode on the Sales Evangelist podcast where the guest came on and told you exactly how that happened to him, but eventually he was able to get the deal. Listen to his story. Think you're going to like this. This episode is brought to you in part by TSE Certified Sales Training Program. It's a program designed to help sales rep and sales team to improve their skills. Teaches you how to find the right customers, what activities, what strategies work, how you go about asking the right questions to build strong value, and what you need to do to close more deals. If you want to test it out for yourself, go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course to get the first 2 modules absolutely free. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/free course. This episode is also brought to you in part by Audible. Knowing that you're a savvy salesperson, you're here, you want to learn, you want to grow. Check out Audible. They have thousands of titles that you can choose from. Take advantage of the 30-day free trial as well as a free book. Simply go to audibletrial.com/TSE. Again, audibletrial.com/TSE. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And as I mentioned in the teaser, we have a great guest coming on the show today. His name is David Adley, and David actually is a sales leader at a company called Bonfire.com. You can check them out, learn a little bit more about them. He's going to talk about them as well, but David's going to talk to us about his experiences, a couple of them. But one of them was when he lost a deal, straight up went the other way. But eventually he was able to recapture that opportunity and gain the business. I want you to hear his stories. Listen to how he has improved and continue to improve and how it can help you as well as a sales professional. Welcome to the show, David.
Donald, my man, thanks so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Man, I'm excited to have you. I look forward to chatting with you today because here's one of the things that I absolutely love. I just love good stories. And I love it when sales reps can, share things with me that I didn't know and sales leaders about their experiences. But what I come to realize is that a lot of the stories, we all have similar experiences, but the way we go about fixing them, some of us just never get it right. So I want to hear from people like you who figured it out and got it right. So before we got all that fun stuff, David, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, well, I guess first, the storytelling thing, I come by it very honestly. My mom, she holds the lovely title of professional storyteller, and she's an amazing lady. Check her out, Characters by Kim. But me personally, I now work in the sales game, and I'm an outbound sales manager here at Bonfire. We're an easy-to-use digital platform for selling custom apparel. We work with mainly nonprofits, some influencers, and basically anybody who wants an easy solution for coming and selling an awesome shirt online.
Dude, that sounds awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely link back to that in our show notes and make sure we get a chance to learn a little bit more about it.
Love it.
Now, so let's dive into your experience here. And big shout out as well to Kim. We'll put a link back in our show notes, and you can, folks, if you're looking for someone who can give you some good insights on storytelling, go ahead and connect with Kim. One of the things that I want us to talk about, David, you and I mentioned your experience like 2 months into your sales journey. And, in this episode, we want to hear some of that experience. I kind of talked about it already in the introduction and in a teaser, but why don't you dive into it and tell us about what happened 2 months into your sales journey? What got you into sales first off? Why did you choose a career doing one of the hardest jobs out there?
Well, it goes back to my first summer in college, actually. I'm sure a lot of sales professionals who listen to this podcast are familiar with the illustrious Cutco knives.
Yes.
So I was one of those dudes, man. I was out there slinging cutlery. to housewives at home going door to door. And I found out that I really had a passion for it, a little gift of the gab. And they make great knives, by the way. Shout out to Cutco. But that was what my first real introduction to sales. And I did that for 2 summers while in college. I excelled there. And when you're having success, you're having fun. So when I got out of school, I went to work for a big music company. I was a music major, and I started as a sales rep for them. Thought it was going to be a perfect marriage of 2 passions that I had, and it certainly was. And I was also playing in a band at the time, and I really had to balance and make a decision. What did I want to pursue at that moment? And I decided that was kind of a moment where I had to pick music over the sales game. So I was actually in a band for about 3.5, almost 4 years full time before I started working another part-time gig here at Bonfire as a customer success rep, just kind of helping me make ends meet while I was doing the rock star thing. And the band didn't quite blow up, but Bonfire was a great landing spot for me. And I kind of grew into a role as a customer success rep. And then my CEO approached me. At the time, we were still a very small company. And he remembered that I had some experience selling those knives back in the day. And he asked me if I wanted to take a shot at kind of growing out the sales team for the first time, being one of the first reps. And I took the jump, and that's when my full-time journey as a sales professional truly began.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
So you got into this role via music. Now, what was the name of the band? This tells us all.
I think we still have a digital footprint out there. So we're on Spotify still. It's called Griff's Room Band, GRIFF' Room Band. And it was named after a buddy of mine named Griff. And we used to practice in his room. So we were really creative dudes with that name, right?
Love it, man. That was like he had some product market analysis.
Yeah, we nailed that.
We'll love it, man. We'll look back to that as well, so you guys can hear some of Griff's Room Band. So you had this experience, and it's teeing it up for you. You sat down and with your team, or you're reaching out to this client, this pretty large client, right? But
yeah,
it wasn't a deal it was a large deal, one of your first large deals, and it wasn't something you had a lot of experience with at the time, but you did some unique things. And I want you to tell us that story.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was my second month on the job, and kind of Bonfire's ideal customer profile at that time, and still to this day, are small nonprofits, animal rescues, adoptions, things like that, really cause-based fundraising. Mm-hmm. And at that time, we weren't as much in the influencer space as we are now, where we do both really well at this point. But this particular big fish, this really big opportunity I had was for a client named Caruso, the celebrity dachshund. Are you familiar with Caruso, the celebrity dachshund at all?
No.
Well, he's a pretty big deal in the animal influencer game. I highly recommend anybody checks him out. His content is hilarious. But basically, he's the most famous wiener dog in the world. So that's what makes my job fun, man, is we get to work with some really amazing clients across the whole spectrum. So never did I thought I would utter that sentence, the most famous wiener dog in the world. But hey, here we are. So yeah, Caruso, that's the big fish in this story. And this story is really all about learning empathy, timing, and persistence. 3 things that your listeners, if they're looking to up their game as sales professionals, know a lot about and want to keep constantly honing in on. So that's what Caruso was able to teach me. And he came in, I was obviously super nervous. I didn't want to screw this up. Second month on the job. Mm-hmm. And it was still probably a 10-person company back then, give or take. Yeah. And our CEO sat directly behind me. He was still doing all the direct hiring and training for the sales team. So not wanting to screw it up, whip my chair around and turn and wave him down and like, hey, Brian, his name's Brian Marks. Can you come over here and give me some sage wisdom? So, he kind of yoded me at that moment, took me under his wing, and we did some discovery together. And, going through the process of that, we discovered that, he actually wasn't going to be a great fit for our platform at the time. We just weren't going to be able to give him everything that he needed to have a successful apparel campaign.
Why is that?
Well, at that point, we were super geared, like I said, to fundraising causes. Mm. And we didn't have certain feature sets built out for these people in the influencer space, the big time wiener dog celebrities of the world, if you will. and any other content creator of who we work a ton with now, across YouTube and Instagram and things like that. But we just weren't building for that particular clientele yet. So, he said something that really just blew my mind in that moment. Caruso was asking for some pro bono graphic design work because he wanted to get this particular apparel campaign up and running fast. So he kind of counseled me to hook him up. That's a classic phrase of his. Just hook him up, man. And we did the design work for him. And then he said something that was even crazier to me. He actually counseled me to go encourage him to sell on our competitor's platform with it.
No way.
And yeah, that's when I cut.
Let's back up. So you worked with this, well, obviously it was their manager, I'm sure. The dog wasn't talking.
You'd be surprised. A lot of these dog influencers that we work with now actually like to speak in the voice as if they were the pet. It's pretty hilarious. But this particular guy did not. It's actually Caruso's dad, who is his acting manager as well.
So now you're talking to them. You gave them free artwork. So you're talking about you design the graphics, pro bono. And then your boss says, which again, I imagine didn't take like 10 minutes. It probably took a couple hours or an hour at least, put something together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We basically, normally when we do custom design work for folks, we give them a rough timeline of about 3 business days.
Holy moly.
And we actually turned this one around for him same day because it was such a huge opportunity, even though he couldn't work, with us on this particular campaign.
So then you passed this on and you told him, you had the audacity to tell him, we can't help you, but go to our competition and go on their website and sell the free stuff that we created for you. Did I get that right?
You nailed it.
Guys, I don't know how to make money, but
that's what I thought. I was blown away. I could not imagine in my youth and inexperience the business case for sending basically a potential VIP seller to go onto one of our competitor sites.
I told you David had some cool stories, right? Well, when we get back, we're going to pick up where we left off, and he's going to continue to share with you another story about his role in a leadership capacity. It's good stuff, man. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. The other day we asked in our Facebook group, why did you get involved in sales? Like, why did you choose this career path? And for me, there were several reasons. One, I wanted to make money, and this was a great opportunity to make a lot of money. Instead of getting a static, simple $30,000, $40,000 a year salary, I could make a lot more. But the problem was I wasn't making a lot more when I first started in sales. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And then I was led to a course who taught me that I didn't need to try to make money. I needed to try to bring value. And I learned the process of bringing value. And next thing you know, I was closing big deals and as a natural byproduct, earning the money. The long story short, we created a course to help you do the same. We want you to check it out. TSE Certified Sales Training Program. Find all the details. We have the first 2 modules absolutely free. Just simply go to thesalesevangelist.com/free course. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/free course, and let's help you close more deals. This episode is also brought to you in part by audible.com. If you've thought about using Audible in the past, but just never did it because maybe one reason or another, or you said, well, I just don't have the money. Well, I want to debunk that right now. It's a straight up farce because that's not true because I've been there. I made the same exact excuse. But then I realized it was a nominal fee to invest in my education every single month. Come on. I started to learn from some of the greats out there. Bob Berg, Jill Conrath, David Hoffeld. I mean, there's so many great authors out there writing some amazing things about sales and you can learn from them. It's going to help your pipeline in the long run. But to let you test it out first, just go ahead and go to audibletrial.com/TSE and you'll get a free book and a 30-day free trial. Again, that's audibletrial.com/TSE. And when you test it out, come back and tell me, let me know how you enjoyed it. I know you're going to love it. Hey, we're back. And we're going to pick up the conversation with David and go into a second story about when he became a sales leader. I want you guys to listen to his experience. And if you are a sales leader, you probably have been down this path as well. So what happened? Continue the story because we're all on the edge of our seat now. There's got to be a punchline here somewhere.
All right. Well, don't fall off just yet. So yeah, stay with me, Donald. All right. So
I'm saying.
I'm sitting there and I'm a little taken aback. I'm still kind of my head's spinning like what is going to happen here? So this is where we really start to learn where I really start to learn, I should say, about those 3 points I mentioned. And in that first piece, I guess persistence being the thing. So, after we sent Crusoe away to go sell on the competing platform, it was still my responsibility, as I learned as a rep, to continue, keeping Bonfire top of mind for him. And I did that through actively checking in during, opportune moments throughout the course of over a year. For example, I remember Crusoe won an award for Best Animal Content Creator. It's a Shorty award. And I hit him up, congratulating him, that kind of thing. He would pop up occasionally in my Facebook feed, keeping tabs on him on social media. I would check in with his owner/manager during whenever a video really caught my eye or a particular piece of content, and he loved it. We had a great relationship, good rapport, even though, the dude and the dog never sold a thing on our site to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of thoughtful persistence was a really key thing for me. And then eventually, the timing piece kicked in. Over a year later, we built a brand new version of our site with a lot of these more accommodating features for that set of clientele. And, the timing was perfect. He got back to me during one of my kind of periodic check-ins and was really anxious to give us a shot. And the new platform had literally launched less than 3 days ago when that happened. So we were still really a little nervous about the bandwidth. And sure enough, Crusoe came in and was by far the highest selling campaign on our site up to that point when he ultimately did launch with us. He pushed us to the brink in our early days of that new platform, bonfire.com. But it was a thrilling experience for everybody in the company, myself included, maybe most of all.
Wow, dude. So how many years or how long after that process did he come back to you before you kindly invited him to go with your competitor?
That's right. It was about a year, almost a year and a half, about a year and two or 3 months.
Wow. And so you just, like you said, you nurtured a relationship, you kept in contact.
Yep.
And then they just said, this change happened. These guys make sense. Let's go with them.
Yeah, exactly. He never forgot how we hooked him up over a year ago, the solid we did for him. Basically, the empathy piece, right? As a young rep, I was so focused on, and why that blew my mind, my CEO's advice at the time was like, we can't send him away. But actually, what he was doing was looking out for him as a person. And that's what good sales reps should do, putting themselves in the client's shoes, not being so deal hungry, focused on closing. What we did was we did right by him. And ultimately, he paid it forward. He never forgot that. And he's been a great, great seller with us, ever since. So it was truly a remarkable and very long lesson.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, man, because you're right. The empathy is there. You're treating them just like another human being and you're doing all of those things. You're building value. And then as a natural byproduct, they're going to come back to you. And I feel that so many of us, sometimes we have the short-sightedness because in our space in sales, I don't know about you, but what I've seen that I've tend to fall into the space of thinking is like, it's like I need something now and I can't look to the future. I can't look to later. It's what Donald need right now. And that's a bad side where I'm only thinking about myself. You know what I mean? Exactly.
It's so easy, especially as a new rep, to be so quota driven that you lose sight of actually doing right by the customer. And, this is one of those cases where I think I'm very thankful that I learned it early on and now can kind of detach myself from the deal. And in my current position as manager, coach reps to, when they get a big opportunity like that, detach themselves from the deal and focus on what's best for their client and finding the right timing for a campaign launch on our site rather than pushing them to do something that's not in anybody's best interest, frankly.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, if you had the ability to say, what kind of revenue did you guys generate from them?
Yeah. So just to give you a little context, I'd say like a typical campaign on our site that my team tackles in terms of what we think success looks like for a client that a BDR hunts on our team would be anyone who sells over 200 apparel items in a given campaign.
Yeah.
And, Bonfire builds their margin to that. So that's what good looks like for us in terms of a good average. Crusoe in that first campaign sold over 3,000 items.
Dang!
So yeah, yeah. So, he more than, 15x our typical revenue that we look for a really good, BDR hunted campaign at that time, which was incredible.
Dang, my goodness. Well, that is pretty fantastic. Again, and it goes back to what you were saying, is just treat people right, give them value, and as a natural byproduct, things will be fine.
That's it, man. Sales isn't so hard, right?
Not that hard. Well, we're going to pick up. There's a second story that you have, and I want us to hear a little bit more about that one as well. Now, you got all this success. You started realizing that you need to have these 3 principles. You mind repeating those 3 principles again so folks can really understand? It was empathy?
That's right. Empathy, understanding of timing, and persistence.
Well, persistent, being consistently there and giving value during that persistency, process there.
That's right.
So now you learn all the sage wisdom. Now you became Yoda. You got the force. You're one with the force now. Now you got put into management and your team start to grow. You're a sales leader. As a new sales leader, I can tell you that, I've had my own fair share of challenges as well, but it provides you learn and you grow. And over the years, I've been able to grow and expand and so forth. But what was the biggest challenge you faced as a new sales leader trying to lead a team?
Yeah, I guess first I'll address, I wouldn't say I'm Yoda just yet. I'd say maybe Obi-Wan level,
okay,
maybe a couple tiers below Yoda, but working. And yeah, the biggest lesson definitely was that you cannot expect to scale a team by just taking kind of what you did and trying to apply it to every rep that you hire. I am not by nature very data driven. I think I'm more naturally just kind of fly by the seat of your pants. This is working great. Let's do it. Let's keep it rolling. And that worked for me, especially in a young startup environment where there wasn't a blueprint. It was kind of like, okay, let's kind of throw all this stuff at the wall and see what sticks. High volume approach. And I learned, obviously, based on that last story, a lot of great things along the way. But, I was still very new to trying to apply that and scale that to a team. So that's where the second story kind of picks up, is I had to adopt a more data-driven approach if I was going to scale the team in a meaningful way and really understand that, not everybody can sell like me. I think that was one of the big things that I had to overcome as a new manager, was like, okay, I did it this way, so everybody else should. But no, there are lots of different awesome personalities and skill sets that can sell effectively, and really diving into the data to understand why those personalities can sell effectively was huge for me.
So what kind of data were you looking at the time? Let's back up there.
Yep.
What data, because I understand where you're coming from with this, like with me and any, especially as an entrepreneur leading a business, and a lot of my clients fall in that same category where you are, because most of them, she's like leading a team, companies probably making anywhere from that, 700 to maybe 4 or 5 mil, and they're trying to really get or 2 mil, trying to really get past that boundary. And we come in and we do processes for them and help them to get to that point. But I'm just curious, what data did you start tracking right away as that manager?
Yep. So I think the first thing was just establishing kind of our baseline metrics for success. Like if you're doing these couple of things every day, then you're going to set yourself up, and then we can kind of hone, your more advanced sales skills to get you to the point where you're closing more deals, launching more campaigns on Bonfire site. But first and foremost, it was just like, you can't just do what David used to do, where you kind of had a gut feel that I, as a rep, was sending out the right amount of messages a day, having the right amount of demos because I was having success. But we eventually established that for us, okay, we actually need to send 25 new outreach messages a day and then convert 35% of those into demos across the board. And then if we convert 10% of those demos into launch campaigns, a BDR will be able to launch 3 campaigns a week and set him or herself up for long-term success, given our comp plan. So it was really just drilling down those numbers, figuring out what those closing percentages were at each stage of the pipeline, and being able to just lay it out for each rep when they come on and give them. I think that's also huge for new reps. It's like, here's what you need to do to be successful. And if you're hitting these benchmarks along the way, you can feel really good about your long-term trajectory here.
That is awesome, man. As a natural byproduct from doing that, how is your team performing now?
Yeah, very well. I think that to go back a little bit, we just changed titles for the reps on my team. And anybody in the sales game knows that all these titles get swapped around a lot. And it's hard to remember, who's an account manager, who's an account executive, and all that stuff. But I used to be lovingly referred to here as the account manager. So definitely a little redundant. Now I'm the BDR manager. So much more smooth. And
love it.
Yeah, my first 2 new hires when I took on this role about 10 months ago I'm very thankful. I got lucky. They're crushing it. I got lucky that I identified 2 really good people from the jump who would be very motivated. And they've been, following the blueprint that I just laid out for you and doing very well for themselves, averaging what we think good looks like here, which is those 3 campaigns per week. And it's put us in a position to make the business case to the founders that, okay, we need to keep growing. So we're going to be hiring 3 or 4 more this quarter, and hopefully consistently that pattern from here on out.
That is awesome, man. Well, dude, congratulations on that. Congratulations on the success you guys are seeing. And big shout out to our wonderful wiener dog out there who's taking over the world by storm as well.
Yes. Big shout out to Caruso, man. Love you.
Well, if there's one major takeaway you'd like listeners to this episode to walk away with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I think I'd go back to my first story, and I would never have learned that lesson had I not been so willing to ask for help. And I think that a lot of new reps just kind of want to go head down. They're out there to prove themselves. But I've noticed, particularly now as a manager too, that the best reps ask a ton of questions, aren't afraid to fail, and you're going to be able to create your own magical Caruso wiener dog success stories if you just kind of put yourself out there, ask for help, and then apply those lessons effectively. So that's what I'd say.
Well, love it, man. Well, folks out there listening to want to get in touch with you, David, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Yeah, you can hit me up on email directly, david@bonfire.com. Also on LinkedIn. Would love to connect with y'all there. And you can check out Bonfire as well, too, bonfire.com. And yeah, would love to get in touch with folks.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and put a link back into the show notes there so folks can get connected with you and connect with you on social as well, man. But thank you for taking the time to come on the show today, David. We appreciate it.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Donald. Again, really appreciate it.
Anytime. Boom. I'm telling you, man, David came, he saw, he conquered. He delivered some amazing things, and I want you guys to make sure you connect with him. Find all the details in the show notes, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1138. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 1138. Tell David that you heard him on the Sales Evangelist podcast. He's also on LinkedIn, very active as well. Just go ahead and message him and say, David, heard you on TSE podcast today. Great stuff. I'm sure he'll be super excited. Also, if you haven't done so already, check out Audible as well as TSE Certified Sales Training Program. We have links back in the show notes. And if you're a sales leader, you want your sales team to get up to par, a sales rep that you know can do better, go ahead and enroll them in the program. They'll love it. They'll love you for it. And plus, they'll make some money and make you money too. Overall, we share stuff like this because we want to help you. We want you to find more ideal customers. We want you to have great conversations, build strong value. We want you to close more deals, but most importantly, it's to challenge you each and every single day to go out and do big things. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show today as much as I did. And if so, I ask you a little favor. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or on Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast or the Fine Podcast. It's greatly appreciated. People come back behind you and they see it and they gain confidence in listening to our show. I know you love it. Go ahead and do that for me. It would be greatly appreciated. Our show today was produced by myself and the Sales Podcast Network. It was edited and mixed together by the one and only Jershon O'Bale. Our content writer and show note creator is Mrs. Shannon Rasmussen. You can find audio credits to this and all of our episodes in each of the show notes. And as always, I am your host, your coach, your mentor, your guide down the sales journey, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Sales Podcast Network.